All right, so we're on to the last step of the finishing, which is sealing these arrows. Now, after sealing these arrows, we go on to, I'm going to make the tapers, put on the nocks, the points, the feathers, all the fun stuff. Now, for me, using this wipe-on poly, which I'm going to be using here in a minute, this is the long process. So with this wipe-on poly, it says to let it dry for 2 to 3 hours. I have found that letting it dry to fully cure, or at least come close to fully curing, give it a full 12 hours between coats. So for me, right now I'm going to put on this coat. It's nighttime. Put on another one when I wake up, night, morning. And I'm going to do that 8 or 9 times until I get my desired finish. And I'll show you what my desired finish is when I'm done. Actually, I can show you on here. So this really isn't shiny. This is a matte coat, but it's nice and smooth. There's no texture to it. And I really like that finish, and that takes about 8 or 9 coats. We are going to put on thin coats when we do this. We're going to start with super thin coats, with just that old t-shirt I was using earlier. And then the last couple coats, I'll probably put it on with the foam brush that puts it on just a little bit thicker. Now, if you use the unicorn spit stain that I used, you are going to want to use something like this. It has to be oil-based. Now, if you use a different kind of stain or like a leather dye, I think you can use water-based, but I really do believe that this Minwax wipe-on gives a superior finish. You know, it's going to take you 4 days, but it's 4 days. I mean, if you want a good product, you're going to wait that long. I'm sure other finishes are good. I do know I definitely like it better than gasket lacquer. Have other arrows with gasket lacquer, did not hold up as well. So in a minute, I'm going to take you down to my basement. We're going to put that on, and I'll kind of do some clips here and there of me putting it on, show you what I do in between, because I'm going to do some sanding with steel wool in between. But this is a pretty easy process. Also, these black stripes didn't turn out terrible. I mean, they're not perfect, far from perfect, but overall they look pretty good. They do what I needed them to do. It was some dollar paint. Eventually, I think I'm going to end up getting a cresting machine to make them look super cool. Right now, though, I don't feel like dropping the money for a cresting machine. So if anybody wants to give me one, you can hit me up. But let's get this down. I even took off my pajamas and put on real clothes to film this. So get it done. 9 o'clock now. I will do another one at 9 in the morning, or somewhere around there, and make it look good. All right, so I'm in my basement. Once again, just got an old t-shirt here. Actually, funny story about this shirt. I was hunting, and I don't know if any of you have ever had nature call while you were in the woods and you didn't have anything with you. Well, this shirt actually got cut up for that purpose, and since then I've just been using it to stain things. So let's go cut a little square out. Never cut with a knife toward you like I just did. Could have lost my nipple. So now I got just a piece of a t-shirt. I'm gonna give some Minwax a little shape. And then I don't know if you've noticed this in my other videos, but I've got this little ramekin. I like to pour all my paint and stuff in here because it cleans up really well. Let's pour a little bit in the bottom. I don't like to overdo it, because if I overdo it, then I've wasted some, because I don't want to pour it back in the bottle. Get that. Got a glove. I normally wear 2, one to hold and one to wipe, but I can't find the one that I hold it with. So I'm just going to use one. You had to double this over so it soaks up a little bit. Just wrap it around my fingers. we're going to want to do real light coats. And I'm actually going to start from the bottom and go to the top. And get that top there. Actually, no, I'm going to start from the top. Let's change that up. Let's dip my fingers in. I want to make sure I'm just rubbing it in evenly. I'm not missing any spots. And it's nice if you're next to a light. So you can hold it up and see if you missed any spots. Like I said, I want to keep these pretty light coats. I'm going to hit them with the steel wool between coats. Now sometimes on this first coat though, we'll say wood really soaks it up pretty quick. So I might go back and touch these up. Like that's already drying. Just add a little bit extra on the first coat. After the wood soaks it in. We'll see. Another thing, I was talking to somebody about this last night, but I really took my time straightening these arrows. And I double checked the straightness before I brought them down here, and I didn't show you that. And they were still straight. But I really think putting on this hard coat when they're super straight is going to be beneficial, because I think it's going to lock in some of that straightness. And you really have to just like look at it to tell. Alright, so it's been 12 hours. So now they're feeling pretty dry. Not really sticky at all. I'm going to hit them with this steel wool. Now for those of you wondering, steel wool I'm using came from Harbor Freight. It's ultra fine steel wool. If you're wondering, I go to Harbor Freight because it's what I have close. So I'm going to go ahead and hit these with steel wool very, very, very lightly. I just want to smooth them out. Then I'm going to get a weight, and then I'm going to hit them with another coat. So I'll probably speed this process up when you watch it, but here we go. And I'm putting no pressure here, just the weight of the steel wool itself. Alright, so all these are good and smooth. I went ahead and weighed these. So I weighed them first before I didn't do this on camera, but I weighed them before I hit them with steel wool. And each of them with that first coat gained about 2.5 grains total. And after the steel wool, the most they lost was 1/10 of a grain. So no huge difference. That's how light I was hitting them. But man, they are super smooth after that steel wool. So I'm gonna go ahead now and hit them with another coat of the wipe on poly. One thing I do want to say is with this method, the unicorn spit and the wipe on poly, the wipe on poly penetrates past that unicorn spit. Now I noticed with the previous dozen of arrows I did that the unicorn spit doesn't really penetrate the wood. Like it does a little bit, but it's mostly just sitting on the top. So something to think about. It's time for another round of lightly sanding with the steel wool, and then weighing, and then recoating. This is the third coat. Last coat before the sanding, I ended up gaining about 2 grains on each shaft, so very little change per coat. We'll see how much the steel wool takes off this time, but I'm going to say probably not much at all. So I'll get to it. For video purposes, I'll probably speed up this section again. Alright, so I'm back, so we'll go ahead and get these clear coated now. So I didn't video the past 2 coats I put on these, but I've now completed 5 coats. It is the evening coat that I just did. I've been weighing these after each coat and after I hit them with steel wool. And one thing I noticed pretty early on is I've been coating them in order. Well, if you're using this wipe on poly, you're probably using some sort of cloth. And as you dip more into the wipe on poly, that just builds up more and more and more on that cloth. So on the first arrow, I was averaging, like, adding 1 grain on each arrow. By the time I got to the last one, I was getting closer to 2 grains. Well, it's all fine and good, but you don't want that weight spread to keep growing. You want it to, stay pretty similar. You want them as close as possible. So what I started doing, and this is working, is I'll do a coat where I go from the first arrow to the last arrow. The next coat, I'll switch it up, and that's keeping everything pretty even. What I was doing previously, I was hitting the one with the most weight a little bit more with the steel wool, but I don't want to do that because I want it to be very even coats. So this was the 5th. It's starting to look really good. Starting to really bring out the grain in the arrow. So I'm going to keep rolling with it. I've got 2 coats to do tomorrow, and then 1 coat to do. It'll be my Tuesday. And then from there, we can cut them, fletch them, put nocks, points, and we will be good to go. Now, when I'm done with all this, I'm going to share all these weights with you to let you know what I found. The wipe on poly, honestly, I was surprised does not add a whole lot of weight at all. And I like that. I don't want my arrow to be made up of a whole bunch of finish. I do know that it makes an incredibly durable finish, so I'm happy with what I'm seeing. I mean, it makes almost like a hard candy finish. Keep going with it. Alright, so I've now put 6 coats on these arrows. Really happy with how they're turning out. I don't know if you can really see here. Really nice finish. Almost where I like it. It's getting that nice hard candy coating. I think 2 more and I will for sure be done with these. And then we'll put nocks on them. We'll put nocks on them. We will cut them down, taper them, fletch them, put points on. Got to straighten them a few more times just for my own peace of mind. But I'm going to go ahead and get these coated and we will go from there. All right, so arrows are almost done. I'm going to do one more straightening. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. And then I'm going to put the nock tapers on and probably glue on the nocks as well. So right now, in these 6 arrows, my lightest arrow is 374.9. And my heaviest arrow is 376.2. So we're talking about a 1.3 grain difference. It seems like, and this wasn't intentional, I kept alternating back and forth, but it seems to me like the arrows themselves kind of leveled out. Like the more porous ones soaked up more stain. It made them level a little bit. It might just be the way these work out. But we are looking at about a total of only like 3 to 4 grains added from the initial arrow weight. Now after that initial arrow weight, we did drop 4 grains from just cutting down the rough spots with the steel wool. But so we're up like 8 grains from that, but that's, averaging 1 grain per coat. I did put a full 8 coats on here. And I'll tell you, the moment I had put on that 8th coat, I could really see these arrows come alive. Now you notice they're not shiny, but they do have a bit of a sheen to them. And if you listen, nothing's sticky, and it's almost like a hard candy coating. Think of like a candy apple, but not sticky. So what I want to do is I'm going to straighten these. And I'm going to straighten these arrows 2 more times, and I'll explain why. Now this isn't going to be like a major straightening because we already did that. And you notice these arrows are still rolling very, very smooth. But whenever you put your tapers on, you want to make sure that the end you're putting your taper on is super straight. So I'm going to really focus right now on my knock end. After straightening my knock, well, everything, but specifically that knock end, then I can put the taper on. After I put the taper on, I can then cut this arrow down, straighten that again, because now that we're not at this end, we're going to be somewhere in the middle. We have to make sure that's straight. And then I can put my taper on for the field point. So that's where I'm at. So it'll be 2 small straightenings, nothing major. Like I said, these held their straightness well. So when I was coating these arrows with the wipe-on poly, there were a couple of times I almost dropped the arrows, and I'd like kind of lean into it and push on it, and that's what took the straightness out of one of those, and it was a hard push. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and get these straightened. Then I'll come back and show you a trick that I use to use one of these cheap taper tools to make it successful. So I'll be right back and we'll get to it.